How well do you know your pronouns? Do you know when to use I or me, they or them, and so on? Or are you just guessing? Well, let's find out. Let's take a quick grammar challenge and find out. So, we have 4 options on the board. Which of these are correct? Do we say, me and John missed the meeting? Or, John and me missed the meeting? Or, I and John missed the meeting? Or, John and I missed the meeting? Which one or ones do you think are correct? If you need a second, you can pause the video, choose something, choose an answer, and then I'll give you the answer. So, if you said this, sorry, it's wrong. If you said the second one, sorry, it's wrong. If you said the third one, sorry, it's wrong. So, don't worry, I didn't trick you. The fourth one is correct. All right? Now let's understand why this is correct when all of the other ones are wrong. So let's analyze these sentences. I've written on the board here, SVO. Do you know what the SVO stands for? English is known as an SVO language, which means usually in a sentence, the order is subject, verb, object. Okay? What is the subject? The subject does the action. The verb is the word which is the action. Okay? And the object receives the action. Okay? So if we're talking about missed, missed what? The meeting. That's the object. Okay? Now, if there are any mistakes, they are based on a couple of reasons. One is we need to know what type of subject to use. What type of pronoun to use. And second, the order of pronouns. So let's first understand the 2 main types of pronouns that we're dealing with. They are subject pronouns or object pronouns. Okay? Subject pronouns do the action, right? So usually they are at the start of the sentence. Object pronouns, if they appear on that side, right, are at the end of sentences, usually. But right now on this board, I'm going to explain to you about the subject pronouns because that's what we looked at on the first board. That's what we were trying to figure out. Why are these 3 wrong and this one right? It's really easy. So let's look first at what the subject pronouns are and what the equivalent object pronoun is. So the subject pronouns are I, you, we, they, he, she, and it. That's it. Those are the subject pronouns. So, if you need to use a subject, okay, you can only use one of these. You cannot use anything on the other side there. All right? So, when we said here, John and I is the right answer. Why? Because we have the subject position, right? In this case, the subject has 2 words in it. That's okay. We could say John, Mary, and I. That's fine too. But this part of the sentence is the subject, right? So, what's the subject pronoun that we can use if we want to represent the idea of I? It's only the word I, right? John and I missed the meeting. We cannot use anything on this side because those are object pronouns, okay? So, there are 2 things going on here. One is that we have to know that this is the subject of the sentence, and so you can only use a subject pronoun. Second, why is this one wrong, you're asking me? I said we used I here. Why can't we say I and John? Why is it only John and I? Because in English, usually we put other people first and then last we say I. So we could say John and I, John, Mary and I, John, Mary, Sylvia and I. It doesn't matter how many people you put before that. You could say the team and I, okay? The company and I, the group and I, the organization and I, okay? But you will say I last. So there were two things. One, the type of pronoun was correct, was the subject pronoun, and the order was because we put other people before I. So that's for you to understand the subject pronouns. Now let's look at the object pronouns, okay? So they are me, you, us, them, him, her, and it. All right? So as we said, the object pronouns receive the action, which is what we will show now here in these example sentences. So let's understand these sentences. I called Mary. In that sentence, what's the subject? I. What's the verb? Called. And what's the object? Mary. Right? But now, let's turn that sentence around. Mary called somebody. So now Mary is the subject, called is the verb. So I called Mary, Mary called, I called Mary, Mary called. Use the object, me. Okay? So in all of these sentences, what's going to happen is what's on the subject side here is going to become the object on this side. Okay? So I called Mary, Mary called me. He called Mary, Mary called. He called Mary, Mary called him. Very good. All right. You see the equivalent next to that, the subject on this side, the object pronoun on that side. We called Mary. We called Mary. Mary called us. Right? These are all the objects. And they called Mary. They called Mary. Mary called them. Okay, excellent. So now you see why we have to use these object pronouns at the end of sentences, because they receive the action. They're usually like this. Sometimes we might say, we have to say to them, with them, for them. Sometimes these object pronouns have a preposition before them, but they belong on the other side. They belong at the end of sentences. They do not belong in the subject side of the sentence. So that's why when we said me and John, it cannot be, because that's the subject side, right? So we could only say John and I in the original board, okay? All right, let's go on from there to make sure that you have really mastered this. Okay, now for this exercise, no John and Mary, just all pronouns, all right? So we have subject pronouns and object pronouns, and you have to use them and switch them according to whatever is needed. So let's look at our sample sentences first. I like him. He likes me. And life is fine. Okay? So this is the subject, verb, object, subject, verb, object, but we're switching them, right? The object becomes the subject here becomes the object. Let me say it for you again, and you could say it aloud too. I like him. He likes me. Let's do the same thing here. She likes us. Blank like. Okay? She likes us. And then we like her. Okay, let me just switch markers here for you. Okay, number 2. They like me, blank like blank. They like me, and I like them. Okay, you see what's happening? We're switching. You like her, and she likes you. Okay, good. We like them, and what's the subject of this one? They like us. Okay, good. And the last one, take your time. If you need to, you can pause. He likes her, and she likes him. Okay? So I hope that was really clear for you. But if it's not for any reasons, we do have another lesson on this, which I'll give you a link to that one. You could also watch that as well. And go to engvid.com. There you can do a quiz on this to make sure that you've really mastered it. And why is this so important? Because these are very basic elements of English. You really don't want to be making mistakes with the basic pronouns, especially mixing the subject and the object. Okay? So, if necessary, watch it again, do the exercises, and really make sure that you're always using the subject pronouns for the subject and the object pronouns for the object. All right? Take care and all the best with your English. Bye for now.